Welcome, my friends, to this community showdown featuring the Wood Elves, who shall be led by Big Papa DURTHU. So, man, this is really a rare sighting. It's so often that you see Pravenoth Rama, the Glady, Way Watchers, but it looks like a very different build. And today, guys, he's going to be facing off against the High Elves, who shall be led by Xiphos and Elithanar. So, certainly a battle of two very unused lords. So as far as the build goes, for the Wood Elves, here in the front line, it looks like there is going to be a vanguard of some missile units. Not going to be Way Watchers, but there's going to be two groups of the Deepwood Scouts with the Swift Shiver Shards. Bit of a tongue twister there, but nonetheless, these guys hit pretty hard against light armor, so if they're facing off against High Elf Archers, or even some of the Spearmen, assuming they're not shooting into the front of them with the shields, they can do some pretty good damage. Swift Shiver Shards basically have shorter range than regular Deepwood Scouts, but they also get 2 volleys, I believe is how that works, so they basically hit twice as hard. So 2 of those bad boys here. And for the front line of the Wood Elves, it looks like it's going to be War Dancers, Eternal Guard, and in the secondary line, it's going to be a bunch of Glade Guard with Hagbane tips, looks like, yeah, across the entire board. So he's going to be getting some poison damage. And last but not least, we have DURTHU. Now, DURTHU is a pretty big target. High Elves do have a lot of missile play, and you can see here, Elithanar, it's like a truck, he has good AP value, so he's certainly going to be pretty useful against this big armored tree. And on top of that, it looks like the High Elves have also brought Eagle Claw Bolt Throwers and a massive battle line of Lothran Seaguard. So certainly some anti-large here, but DURTHU is very heavily armored, and Lothran Seaguard don't have like crazy AP like Sisters of Averlorn, nor do they have fire damage. And I don't think Sisters of Averlorn are a very common pick in this matchup anyway, so perhaps mixing in Big Papa DURTHU here is a pretty good choice. So for the High Elf army, Elithanar here is going to be dropping some fire in the front line. Looks like right now he's shooting at some of the Hagbane tips here. And for the front line, it's going to be Spearmen. Now this is where the Wood Elves are going to have a pretty big advantage. You can see the Spearmen here are going to be having to fight, looks like War Dancers, not across the entire front line. I think in total there's 2 War Dancers. So War Dancers will make mincemeat of the Spearmen. Spearmen, of course, rely very heavily on their 50 melee defense, but War Dancers have a very high melee attack as well. So they're going to be able to eventually get through that. They have that high DPS, they have the bonus versus infantry. So that's going to be quite a good situation for the Wood Elves. Granted, the front line here for the Wood Elves, so Hagbane tips here, the War Dancers are all very susceptible to focus fire from Lothran Seaguard. Plus in the back, it looks like there's also Dragon Princes with a huge charge bonus of 80. Just a massive erect one, can do huge damage to War Dancers as well. So it's really cool. Both players actually have some really solid tools against one another, which really, makes for fun matches. On top of that, in the back, it looks like triple Dragon Prince, so 1, a 2, and a 3, and he does also have an Eagle Claw Bolt Thrower and High Magic. So the High Mage is going to be bringing Apotheosis with the Book of Hoeth just to get that extra Winds of Magic, and is just going to be dropping some heals on Dragon Princes. So very cool stuff. So let's get the show on the road, guys, and see which Elvish faction shall prevail. On the far side, Aerocrastic does also have the Wild Hunters of Kurnus, who vanguarded over here in the Shadow Realm. So those guys are going to be trying to pick a fight, and they did get changed recently in the most recent patch. They do have a bonus versus large now, but they don't have Guardian anymore. But the bonus versus large is very nice here. Pretty good against like Phoenixes, and sometimes you do see some wild picks like that. So as the battle begins here, you can see that the Lothran Seaguard are going to be pouring some fire into pretty much everything that's in range here, and it looks like the Bolt Thrower in spray fire mode has done some pretty good damage against the Glade Guard with Hagbane tips. And for the most part, Apotheosis is going to be mitigating most of the frontline damage that's been taken so far, but something that's going to be a little bit tricky for the High Elves, like I said, is this War Dancer Blitz. So you can see here that Aerocrastic is going to be pushing in, using the War Dancers with DURTHU in a bit of a pocket here, just to get that blunt force just pushed through. DURTHU, of course, causes terror and has some good supporting buffs and things like that in the form of encouragement, so he'll keep them fighting a little bit longer. Over here on the flank, you can see the Wild Hunters of Kurnus going to be pressuring into the back line. Now, these are Lothran Seaguard, who do have charge defense and anti-large if they're braced, which is quite nice, but for the most part, Dragon Princes should be able to kind of pull these guys back. The big Wood Elf fire in line is, what are they shooting at here? Looks like they're going to be going into Lothran Seaguard for now. War Dancers in the front line going to be quite good, but a nice counter charge there by Xiphos. He is able to get a nice charge into the Wild Hunters of Kurnus. However, beautiful play there by Aerocrastic. So what he did, he pulled in the Wild Hunters, he baited for the Dragon Princes, and baited them into the Wardens. But again, Xiphos has super good micro as well, so he's able to react quickly enough so he doesn't really take any losses. So pretty much just a wash there between those two very, next level plays. In the front line, War Dancers are very beat up from some of the Overwatch fire they took on the approach, but DURTHU's here, War Dancers are here. It's going to be pretty scary for these Spearmen, as they are cleaved asunder by this ancient, giant, pissed off tree. You can see here a Flock of Doom is going to be going down, helping these War Dancers, but that Lancing charge from the Dragon Prince is just so punishing. So the front line here, I mean, it's going pretty well for the Wood Elves, but also it's going back. It's just back and forth. It's a really good fight here. Wild Hunters of Kurnus here are fighting side by side with some War Dancers here on foot, but they also have support from the Wardens of Sithril and DURTHU. So suddenly there's going to be a very bad situation for the High Elves, where these Dragon Princes are fighting against anti-large, armor-piercing specialists with armor sundering. The armor sundering is going to make Wild Hunters better, and the War Dancer is putting them down to 80 armor, so very good stuff. So Zyphos definitely in a little bit of trouble here, because if he does lose his pocket, he loses the 800 gold from the bolt thrower as well. But in the back line, he's getting some pretty good pressure. Dragon Princes are on the hunt, but the Swift Shiver Shards doing some solid DPS despite the armor. And you can see here the Wild Hunters of Karnas with regrowth are going to be coming back here, and they should 100% be able to take these guys out with their bonus versus large, and considering how healthy they are, it should be a pretty good situation. Over here on the other side, Zyphos does have that third group of Dragon Princes who's basically just reaving through the back line. So it looks like Arrow committed very heavily to this flank, which isn't bad. I mean, it's paid its dues for sure, but over here on the far side, Zyphos was able to kind of take advantage of that fact and has gotten into the Glade Guard with packing tips and other troops like that. So it's basically, you know, it's a bit of a wash, right? I mean, both players have gotten some pretty good value. The Wood Elves have easily won this side of the battlefield, and the High Elves have formed a secondary pocket. Granted, I think it's going to be a little bit trickier because Big Papa DURTHU's here, and one of the good tools against DURTHU that's still left is the bolt thrower right here with its anti-large, plus, of course, a Lithanar, who's probably been sitting and shooting at him the entire game. Let's see what he's shooting at right now. Where's that bow? Where's that bow going? Yeah, it does some pretty good damage. Now, he has 356 missile damage. Man, that's a lot less than Marcus. Marcus does, of course, I think have like 500 or something with the bonus versus large. Granted, the advantage that Lithanar does have is his range, but man, Marcus Wolfhard is just so much better. Anyways, over here, the Wild Hunters of Karnas are able to swoop in there after finishing off the Dragon Princes in the back line, and they do take out that bolt thrower, which is quite nice. The High Elves are having to hold the front line with Lothar and Seaguard, which is cool about that, though, is they have good melee defense. They're basically spear units, so they are able to kind of hold the War Dancers back and allow the archers to keep firing. Over here, we have High Elf Spearmen holding, and it looks like a rear charge coming in from Zyphos with the Dragon Princes is really able to hammer those Eternal Guards, and maybe it will give the victory to the High Elf Spearmen. Time will tell. So in the meantime, Dragon Princes are going to be peeling into the back line, and it looks like the Deepwood Scouts with the Swift Shiver Shards have come back, and where are they going to be pouring their fire? It looks like they're going to be going into the Princes, and they do magic damage also, so that's quite nice because Dragon Princes do have physical resist, so very cool stuff there. Actually has a little bit of a niche application here in the situation. Wild Hunters are able to break this pocket, but yeah, like I said, DURTHU's going to be a big problem. He does have Block of Doom and the Sword of Days, so he has pretty good AoE, so if people lob up on him, you can certainly punish that and make him pay the troll toll. Here in the back, though, it looks like a Lithanar actually was able to snipe the Spell Singer, so very good stuff coming in here from the High Elves, getting rid of that Life Caster. It's going to make DURTHU a much more kind of manageable threat here. In the back, double Dragon Princes coming in with a big old charge, and they're going to be chasing the caster, and if they're able to get on these Deepwood Scouts, that could be a really nice in. I mean, this is, you know, somewhere in the almost like probably 2,000 gold worth of archers. Getting those guys off the battlefield, shutting down the Wood Elf archer pressure would be huge here. Because again, aside from that, what do they have? They have DURTHU. Here in the back, they do have the Wardens of Sithril, are going to be super hard to deal with. I mean, those guys are a pain in the butt. Very elite unit, you know, not unbreakable, but their leadership is like up over 90 when I think it's full, so those guys are going to be really tough to deal with. So here in the back, Dragon Princes doing their thing. I mean, getting into the Deepwood Scouts, they are able to bring one group very, very low, but the other group is still in relatively good shape. But, you know, 28 models here with Apotheosis coming down, they should be able to kind of stabilize and then get on that other group. And there's also some High Elf Spearmen coming back here, which is very, very useful. So they should be able to kind of clean up this back line. But now becomes the issue, like I said, is DURTHU. He has support here, so now the Spears aren't going to be as good against DURTHU. They were getting some decent attrition damage on him, but now that the Wardens of Sithril are here, they have the encouragement from DURTHU. It's going to be really, really tough to bring those down. And you guys can see the bounce power actually reflects that. The bounce power is about 60% in the favor of the Wood Elves here. As you know, Lithanar is running out of ammo. Now, ammunition is actually taken into account in the bounce player or multiplayer as well as campaign. So the ammunition for Lithanar here is fading. It's very, very low at this point. So you can see the bounce power is like, if he was full ammo right now, the bounce power might be a lot closer to the middle. Like, because then they would have stopping power against DURTHU and some of these other characters and things like that. And so yeah, very, very scary situation. Lithanar is a pretty good duelist himself. 67 melee attack, 57 melee defense, 400 weapon strength, which is actually more than his missiles, which is a little bit funky, but nonetheless, I mean, he's going to get stomped by this tree for sure. Over here on the far side, you can see the Dragon Princes are finally able to clean up the back line, so the Deepwood Scouts are pretty much gone for now. It looks like they're mostly shattered. There is a Mage of Life as well. It looks like she's on foot, and she does pop the Book of Hoeth to get that greatly improved power recharge. Some solid stuff. And yeah, the High Elves have done a good job cleaning up the back line, but DURTHU just Big Papa Tree here and his Wardens of Sithril. I don't know what's going on with my tongue tonight. I think it's just the hot dogs. I just ate like 3 or 4 hot dogs, so here you can see DURTHU here going to be getting that big old stomp in here on the Spearmen. Those guys are going to be getting broken, and I just don't see how a Lithanar can carry this into the sunset. There are some gamey tactics here, and perhaps, if the High Elves can get these Dragon Princes, cycle charge these guys when they're unbraced, get a lot of damage, isolate DURTHU with spears and just kind of grind him out, and then maybe get the Eagle Claw Bolt Thrower crews back online, that could actually probably get the High Elves back into the game. And to be honest, I haven't watched this battle yet, so I don't know the outcomes. I'm quite excited to see this myself. So over here we have Dragon Princes coming in into, looks like they got braced at the last second, a little bit hard to tell, but nonetheless, Zyphos looks like he does get some okay value there. Maybe gets a couple kills. I mean, these Dragon Princes have paid their dues. They're up to 186 right now, so definitely some very solid value from those guys. In the meantime, Bolt Thrower is back online. I wonder if it's going to be doing Spray Fire mode or if it's going to be doing single target mode to go after DURTHU. I would imagine going after DURTHU, because pretty much everything else here can be, cycle charged. The High Elf player can also use the Spearmen. He can get them into the Eternal Guard, into the Wardens of Sithril, and from there he can, cycle charge them. Because when units are fighting, they don't count as brace, essentially. It looks like Flock of Doom's going to be going down on Dragon Prince, is doing a little bit of damage. You can see it is counteracted by an Apotheosis, so probably no casualties will be sprung from that. And it looks like he's wanting to get a charge into the Wardens, but the Wardens are going to be charging in. I would imagine the Bolter, ooh, nice shot right there. And the Dragon Princes get an okay charge, but they kind of get caught up on their own artillery pieces, actually, which is tricky. DURTHU gets a big old karate chop on those guys, and they are going to get broken. So yeah, you can see just totally tree slapped that guy off his mount right there. And yeah, the Eagle Claw Bolt Thrower is pretty much done for. Wardens of Sithril and most Wood Elf infantry are pretty quick. I mean, these are like heavier infantry by Wood Elf standards, and they do have 38 speed, so should be able to catch the only 22 speed on that crew. I mean, maybe that's the speed. That's actually probably the speed of the artillery piece, not the crew. So it looks like some of the High Elf Spearmen and Elithanar are going to be getting in here. He's doing his anime run right here, and yeah, he's basically just going to be getting in there. Well, I guess he's not like doing the Naruto run or anything like that, but he's going to be jumping into these guys, and here it comes. High Elves, Wood Elves are braced for it. DURTHU's coming in, and he's exhausted, but he's a big pissed off tree. I'm sure he's had plenty of time to rest in his illustrious life. And yeah, you can see this is going to be pretty grim builds. Nice Flock of Doom right there for sure. Dragon Prince is charging in, doing what they can, but the Wardens of Sithril, their bonus versus large, their armor sundering, it's going to be brutal. I mean, Dragon Princes will get butted up those units. So some of the Spearmen come in, so at this point, probably getting the Dragon Princes up and around and maybe slamming into the Wood Elves here would be really nice, considering they can't really race, but it looks like he's just going to kind of keep hammering the position where Elithanar is fighting. I mean, Elithanar is basically his last hope here. You can see he's just getting chunked horribly by DURTHU. Really good combat stats. I mean, 57 melee defense, or actually 45 now that the martial prowess is gone. But yeah, DURTHU has 73 melee attack, but just hits like an absolute truck. So at that point, it's pretty much going to be it, as Elithanar is going to get terrified and chased off. DURTHU, this vengeful tree spirit, going to be coming in with the steel chair. Of all steel chairs, but you probably have like a wooden chair or a wooden throne, but that totally works as well. The mage is coming in. Dragon Prince is continuing to harass and getting more and more kills, up to 208, which is really not bad. And I mean, some High Elf Spearmen are coming in, but there's just too many elite troops left. I just don't see it being possible. Let's look around the battlefield. Maybe there's something I'm missing. So if we look here, we can see there's 3 Dragon Princes here, 11 War Dancers who are being chased off by something. No, it looks like that's the same unit there, and a couple spears here. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Wardens of Sithril are going to keep bracing. Very nice bracing play by Aerocrastic. So he turns, he faces the Dragon Princes, he makes sure they're braced so they get their charge defense, and he's able to kind of net value. Every time those princes come in, DURTHU charges, he intercepts, and he just totally karate chops his guys. Going after the High Mage here is pretty good. High Mage on foot does have 35 speed. DURTHU does have 35 as well, so he's not the quickest of monstrous units. He's quite slow and ponderous, but when he gets in there, he certainly does some work. So we'll do a little bit of fast forwarding as both players are going to be gathering their forces and just setting things up, trying to get those last minute, value trades here. Dragon Prince is trying to hammer in where they can, uniting with the other 2 Dragon Princes. So now, guys, the total's up to 19 plus 2, rocking a hard 21 count there, but hey, I just don't see it happening. Infantry are going to be engaging. Even if everything was gone for the Wood Elves and DURTHU was all that's left, I still think he would be able to win this. DURTHU comes in, just a huge blow, just whacking Elithanar, doing a ton of damage right there. So yeah, that's got to be triggering army losses in a second, I would imagine. 20 Eternal Guard here. Wardens are able to get a lot of kills as well. Up to 132 themselves. Very solid performance. And you don't see those guys terribly often, but you know what? As a niche pick against like Dragon Princes, which heavily armored cav have always been a thing against Wood Elves, I feel like that's really good. And look at this, Aerocrastic moving in the Eternal Guard to screen out in the back with DURTHU, just making sure these guys don't get rear charged. Thing of beauty for sure. So that's going to be army losses. Very well played to those super high level players, obviously. So Aerocrastic's build is really neat. I mean, I get a little bit bored of watching Praven Othrema and Way Watchers and things like that. So it's really refreshing to see a different Wood Elf army composition. Granted, this might be a somewhat common thing, and maybe it's more common in tournament play, but at least in my replays and ladder experiences and recent events I participated in, I haven't really seen builds like that, and it was very cool. Deepwood Scouts got some decent action, but really the War Dancers punched through pretty good despite the fact they got killed quickly. DURTHU was the MVP though. I mean, he just got 164. He was tanky, just an absolute beast, and did pretty well for himself. So for Xiphos' build, I mean, I like it as well. Heavy, Dragon Princes are always really good. The Bolt Throwers are pretty solid against both the mobility of Wood Elves and also against, the big leadership if they get a little bit crazy. The one thing that I think obviously is weak in this matchup is Elithanar, but he was probably just having some fun. Or Xiphos, if you're watching and you've had success with him in the past, and maybe he's a really good counter pick against like Glades, for example. With his range, he can sit, he can snipe them, and play that really defensive game. So yeah, it's hard to say, but yeah, I don't know. Maybe he's good in that matchup. But in my experience, I've never really had success with him. Granted, I'm not the best high elf player, but yeah, I don't know. What would you bring instead? I mean, maybe a Lariel just to heal up the Dragon Princes, but again, you need that like bonus versus large. Maybe you bring a Lariel, you cut like 1 Lothran Seaguard, get another Bolt Thrower, and yeah, I don't really know though, to be honest. Xiphos is a much better player than me, so he can probably let you guys know in the comment section below. So very well played, Aerocrastic and Xiphos. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this glorious Wood Elf versus High Elf game, and we'll see you guys on the other side. Take care.